On today's episode of Broncos Syndicate Mythbusters, we dispel the stupid narrative that Bo Nix cannot throw a deep ball. We have been having this conversation ever since the Denver Broncos drafted Bo Nix almost a year ago now. And I thought that he did a really good job last year of putting this stupid narrative to bed. But unfortunately, it seems that it just will not die. I want to bring in this tweet here from Zach Stevens that started the whole interaction on Twitter. And I want to make clear that I don't disagree with anything Zach said here. It's afterwards what I disagree with from somebody else. Bo had the third most deep passing yards in the NFL last year with 819 per Next Gen Stats. Weird. People say he can't throw deep. As I always say on this channel, you can't just look at the raw numbers. You have to look at both the advanced analytical data as well as the film. But when you look at data, you have to remember that it tells you the what, but it doesn't tell you the how and the why. It doesn't tell you what's behind those numbers. It doesn't tell you how the quarterback got those numbers. So I want to go ahead and bring in this quote tweet that was replying to Zach here from a guy that I really do respect in this community, Steve Patton of Patton Analytics. He's a guy who has really made a big impact on the analytical community, which I do appreciate. You have to look at the film, but you have to pair it with the numbers and find some sort of happy medium that makes sense in terms of what you're trying to evaluate. And Steve Patton, in my opinion, kind of made a comment here that's a little bit condescending, and when you look at the very chart that he posted, kind of disproves his entire point. If you look up the word average in the dictionary, there's a picture of Bo Nix right next to it. And the chart that he puts is quarterbacks that excel at deep throwing. It's a composite of catchable pass percentage, which is based on tape evaluation. That's a very good, trustworthy stat. And EPA per pass attempt. I'm not the hugest fan of EPA because it's a stat that doesn't factor in drops. It's a stat that doesn't factor in erroneous plays that aren't the quarterback's fault, such as a receiver running the wrong route. It's just a stat that I have a lot of problems with. Catchable percentage, that's pretty hard to argue with. I agree with that stat. EPA, using it in a chart like this, I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. But I understand that EPA is a respected stat. Expected points added is what it stands for if you guys are unfamiliar. It's a really complicated stat to explain. Basically, the total expected points that an average quarterback would add on that given rep per play. It's a really, really complicated stat that I think is erroneous and has a lot of flaws to it, like I said earlier. If we look at where Bo Nix places on this chart here, you'll see that where these two lines converge in the middle, this is basically the baseline. This is average league quarterback play at throwing deep per this chart, and Bo Nix cracks in right around league average here, around the likes of Daniel Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, Mason Rudolph, Aiden O'Connell, Aaron Rodgers is in there, Josh Allen's in there, Brock Purdy's in there. When we look at the quarterbacks who are supposedly the best deep ball throwers in the NFL, and I do agree that there are some good deep ball throwers up here. Trevor Lawrence, a great deep ball thrower. Kirk Cousins, that kind of surprises me a little bit. He struggled to generate power and velocity on his throws because of his Achilles, so maybe his weapons were making him look a little bit better there. I don't know. Geno Smith, yeah, he's a good deep ball thrower. Sam Darnold was really good throwing the deep ball last year. We all know Russell Wilson can throw the deep ball, and Jared Goff, yeah, that all checks out. But at the end of the day, when you're saying that if you look up a dictionary and look up the word average and Bo Nix is going to appear there, that's just erroneous. Look at this, bro. Bo Nix actually had the highest catchable throw percentage amongst all rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. Higher than Jaden Daniels, higher than Drake May, and higher than Caleb Williams, who's all the way down here. Michael Penix didn't throw enough passes to qualify for this chart. So when you're trying to make the argument that if you look up the word average and you'll see Bo Nix there, I don't think this chart's doing it, because Bo Nix played like that as a rookie, and he was the best deep ball thrower amongst all rookie quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels had a lower catchable ball percentage than Bo Nix did. The reason why he had a higher EPA per play was because his weapons, i.e. mostly Terry McLaurin and De'Ami Brown towards the end of the year, they were making those plays in these situations. When you actually look at the advanced stats here, according to Pro Football Focus, which I know is also not everybody's cup of tea, Bo Nix was let down quite a bit here in terms of the amount of times he had drops on deep passes. He attempted actually the second most deep passes with 20 plus air yards on them on the season, with 77, only behind Josh Allen. He had a 93.1 PFF passing grade on these plays, 22 big-time throws, just 3 turnover-worthy plays, 4 drops, an 11.1% drop percentage. So Bo Nix was let down multiple times on deep throws. The one that lives in pretty much everybody's head rent-free here in Broncos country is that Troy Franklin drop in the end zone that would have pretty much sealed the game against the Raiders. It didn't matter. The Broncos still won that game in blowout fashion, but Bo Nix made a beautiful, perfect throw on that, and apparently the play was messed up. It was the wrong route concept on each side. That's why Sean Payton and Bo Nix were arguing about it, but Bo still delivered a perfectly accurate throw in the end zone, and it went right through Troy Franklin's hands. I can recall Marvin Mims having a drop on a deep ball. I can recall, I believe Cortland Sutton had a couple. I think 4 drops actually sounds a little bit low on deep balls. I feel like there's a few more out there that PFF might have missed. But regardless, dude, Bo Nix was let down in these situations multiple times, which would have raised his EPA per pass attempt. So, therefore, this stat is null and void because it doesn't take into account the amount of drops that Bo Nix had to deal with on deep balls. I'm sorry, man. I cannot respect this chart. I respect Stephen Patton's work through and through. I think he normally does a great job, but when you pair this comment right here, along with the fact that your own argument can basically be disproven by your chart that you posted right here, sorry, dude. I don't know what to say. This is just not good analysis, in my opinion. Again, nothing against Stephen here personally, but I have big problems with this chart and with this tweet. Alright guys, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comment section below. After taking a look at the numbers, I'm blurred, I'm going to go out of that. After taking a look at the numbers, would you agree that putting this chart up is just kind of, I don't know, a little bit weird and not exactly accurate? Would you agree with that, Broncos country? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support, helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Apologies for the lack of content, guys. I've been dealing with some crap behind the scenes, but we should be back in the rhythm now. Most of that crap is done and over with, so very good news there. I'm not going to get too much further into it, but I do apologize for the lack of content, and we will be back in the rhythm with multiple videos a day as we normally do it here on Broncos Syndicate. All right, guys, and until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.